Well, hey everybody, it's Eric Clark again. Wanted to say thanks for watching this video. This is going to be kind of a supplemental video for our identity series. Again, what we're trying to do is communicate a common language around a common kind of aligning frame of our mandate, our values, our strategy, and our measures. And after we kind of have come to agreement upon that, as we talked about in that identity series, one of the things that is helpful for us is as we think about different efforts, what to say yes to and what to say no to think about helping people become all they're designed, called, and gifted to be. We have a tool that we've been using as staff that we want to continue to use not only in our discussions going forward, but as teams like the Recovery Think Tank or Men's Think Tank think through what ministry looks like in those kind of spheres or those contexts forward. We wanted to communicate a tool that can kind of help give some direction. And it's a combination of really a tool that we currently use in our Next Steps pathway, and then a new kind of way of looking at things kind of from the field of social science. And so what I wanted to do was talk about this kind of matrix between up at the top here on this screen, which we call our DModel, or our discipleship model, which is a 5 kind of stage continuum that helps people determine where they are with Jesus in relation to who he is, their belief or unbelief, where they are, and then chart a way forward to grow into being disciple makers. So that's the top of the top of the page, top of the horizontal axis. You see not interested, interested, believer, disciple, disciple maker. Down the vertical axis, you see starting with transparent, personal, social, and public. These are kind of 4 stages from a field of study called Proxemics. And Proxemics is the social science study of how we relate to one another in different public spheres, all the way to kind of more intimate settings, interpersonally. And so as we were thinking, and as I was wrestling with trying to help our team figure out where different classes or efforts or events land on our continuum, and to have some type of strategy, this idea of mirroring the D model with Proxemics kind of really honestly just came to me one day. And I said, okay, we want to help lead people who are not interested to Jesus, hopefully to become believers after they've been interested in him, to grow into a disciple, ultimately that then blossoms into a disciple maker. But really, if you look at the life of Jesus, Jesus had he led his disciples through that. But if you look at his life, he had the hundreds, the 20 to 70s, the 12, and then even the 3 of his inner circle of Peter, James, and John. And so as we were thinking about how we could be strategic going forward is, okay, if we're going to help engage people in the not interested or interested phase before they come to saving faith, Proxemics would tell us that we don't want to try to do events or classes that force people to be too personal or too transparent. We want to focus on the social and the public. So when you're thinking about recovery, when you're thinking about men's, women's, as a key servant leader in guest services or as a coach, we want you to think with us and alongside of us through that lens. And so ultimately our goal, as we said, is to help people experience transformation through Jesus to become all they're designed, called, and gifted to be. Well, that kind of really is our goal, which is disciple maker. To get people there, we have to start in the public sphere. And this is hundreds of people. The 12-foot plus is kind of the personal Proxemics type of interpersonal kind of actual space. So we relate to people in 12 feet kind of increments. Have you ever seen people enter into a classroom or enter into a venue? They sit 12 feet plus away from each other. They sit usually from the back to the front. And so when we're thinking about ways to connect with men on a public sphere, maybe guys who aren't interested, we don't want to invite them into a interpersonal dinner. We might want to do something bigger, that are easy connection points for guys. Same thing with women or recovery ministry as well. But as we progress in our efforts, in our classes, in our events, what we want to do is that we want to chart down that kind of pink line. We don't want to deviate too far from that in our strategy. So if you're a women's team, let's say in Odessa, or if you're part of the women's team here in Midland, or the men's think tank, or in our group ministry, we want to think strategically on, okay, who's our target? If it's believers disciple, then we want to really kind of think through environments that are more personal, 4 to 12. Our win is to not have a huge public event for the disciple maker, because ultimately it might lose its power as we try to equip too many people. And so again, this is a general guideline, and it's a tool that ministry areas, from guest services to assimilation to groups to men's, women's, and recovery, we can all use and look forward. So again, our goal is to help take people who are not interested, de-churched, unchurched, and help get them interested in Jesus. Again, we can't force anything. Trusting God to save them, to make them believers who grow into disciples who are self-feeders, who grow into disciple makers, who are taking responsibility to help people love Jesus, be changed by Jesus, and live out the mission of Jesus in ways they've been designed, called, and gifted to be. And so I want to throw this out to you as a tool, especially for those teams that are thinking through ideas in classes and initiatives. Thanks for taking the time to invest in this tool.